There's a silence that isn't just absence of sound, it's the hollow stillness of something breaking inside you. Silence that lingers between heartbeats, between the moment you trust and the moment you realize that trust was a loaded gun pointed at your back. Betrayal doesn't announce itself with a grand explosion. No, it's far more elegant. It slides in like a whisper, like a knife between ribs. No scream, just the slow sinking realization that the warmth you felt was never love. It was the blade going deeper. You know that feeling, don't you? The way your stomach drops, the way your chest tightens when you see their true face for the first time. The hands that once lifted you up didn't slip. They pushed. And the worst part, they smile while doing it, like it was never personal, like you were always meant to be the fool in their little game. But fools don't stay fools forever. They learn, they adapt, they survive. And here's the part they never saw coming. You didn't just fall, you landed. You didn't just get stabbed. You held on to the knife. You didn't die in the dark like they wanted. No, you walked out, blade in hand, not to beg, not to cry, but to carve the truth into the world, because this time the game is yours. And they're about to learn what happens when the prey refuses to run. They come wrapped in warmth, their hands soft, their words sweeter than honey dripping from the comb, smiles that stretch just wide enough to hide the teeth beneath, eyes that shine with false light. They don't strike in anger. No, that would be too obvious. Instead, they weave themselves into your world, stitch by careful stitch, until you mistake them for part of your own fabric. Wolves in sheepskin, saints with daggers tucked beneath their robes. They swear loyalty, they speak of forever, and you believe them, because why wouldn't you? That's the cruelest part of betrayal. It doesn't come from enemies. It comes from the hands you held closest, the voices you trusted most. You replay it in your mind, don't you? The late-night talks where they swore they'd never leave. The promises spoken in whispers, thick with the illusion of sincerity. The lies, wrapped so tightly in hard truths that you mistook them for honesty. The way they nodded as you poured your soul out, pretending to understand, pretending to care. You thought you had found safety, a place to rest your weary heart. But safety was the illusion. The net beneath you was never real. They built it out of thin air and painted it with the colors of hope, waiting for the perfect moment to pull it away. Betrayal doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow, insidious poison, slipping through the cracks of your trust. It's in the way their tone shifts, just slightly. It's just enough for your gut to notice, but your mind to dismiss. The missed calls that used to come instantly, the silence that lingers a second too long before they answer. The laughter that used to be shared, but now feels like a private joke, whispered behind your back. It's in the way they begin to pull away. Not in grand gestures, but in small, almost imperceptible ways. The hesitation before a hug, the lack of warmth in their words. Betrayal isn't one single stab. It's 1,000 cuts, each one so minor that you don't realize you're bleeding until you're drowning in your own pain. And then the moment when the mask finally slips, when their true face is revealed, not because they want it to be, but because they no longer care to hide it. Maybe it's in their words, casual yet cutting, a confession disguised as an afterthought. Maybe it's in their actions, the way they stand beside someone else, the way they once stood beside you. Or maybe it's in the sheer absence of them, the void they leave behind when they finally discard you like an old toy they've grown bored of. They don't even look back, but you do. You look at the wound they left, at the knife still lodged in your back. You trace the handle with your fingers, feeling the weight of what they did. And then something shifts, a realization, cold and sharp, like the steel buried in your spine. You don't scream. You don't fall apart. Instead, you do something they never expected. You smile, because now you know the game, and they have no idea who they just created. You don't react, not the way they expect. No outbursts, no desperate pleas, no wild declarations of revenge. You don't throw the knife away in disgust. You hold it, you study it, and then, in the silence they mistake for surrender, you sharpen it. Revenge isn't about rage. Rage is sloppy. It burns fast, leaves you reckless, easy to predict, easy to control. No, true revenge is ice. It's slow, patient, precise. It's the moment when they think they've won, when they laugh in victory, unaware that the ground beneath them is already crumbling. They wanted you to break. They wanted to see you shattered, crawling, begging. But instead you watch, you listen, you learn, you start to see through them, past the charm, past the confidence. Every betrayer is built on a foundation of lies, not just the ones they tell others, but the ones they tell themselves. And you become a collector of those lies. You memorize the way their voice tightens when they're afraid, the little ticks they try to hide when they feel exposed, the nervous glances, the way they cling to the illusion of control. You learn their fears, their weaknesses, the secrets they whisper to themselves in the dark. And then you let the silence do the work, because silence is the loudest weapon of all. People like them, they thrive on reactions. They need to see your pain to feel powerful. They need to know they got to you, that they matter enough to break you. When you don't give them that, when you meet their betrayal with nothing but a calm, knowing gaze, the cracks begin to form. You've seen it, haven't you? The way their laughter falters when they realize you're not playing the role they wrote for you. The way their confidence wavers when they realize you're still standing. The way their bravado turns brittle when they start asking themselves the question they never thought they'd have to. Why isn't this working? That's when the paranoia starts. They begin to second-guess themselves, to second-guess their allies. Did you say something? Did you do something? They start seeing shadows in every corner, ghosts in every conversation, the same mind games they played on you. Now they're trapped inside them, because the worst thing you can do to a liar isn't to expose them, it's to let them expose themselves. They start slipping, unraveling thread by thread. Their mask, the one they wore so well, begins to crack. And the best part, you never even had to lift a finger. They did it all on their own. Because the truth is, they were never as strong as they wanted you to believe. The power they held over you, it was only ever as real as your belief in it. And now that belief is gone. You're no longer the prey. You're no longer the fool in their story. You've become something else entirely. The shadow they can't escape, the silence they can't interpret, the mirror that shows them exactly what they are and what they never were. They thought they wrote the script. They thought they had the final say. But what they never realized, what they never even considered, is that you were never just a character in their story. You were the author of your own. And now it's time for the rewrite. You don't expose them in darkness. That would be too easy. No, you drag them into the light, into the place where shadows have nowhere to hide. A leaked message, a recorded whisper, a truth so sharp it carves through their web of lies. The world sees them now, stripped of illusion, naked in their deception. They scramble, they deny, they spin new lies in a desperate attempt to cover the old ones. But it's too late. The audience has turned. And the crowd. Oh, they love a plot twist. Because nothing is more satisfying than watching a villain fall. And they fall hard. The ones who once stood so tall, who played the puppeteer with such arrogance, now find themselves tangled in their own strings. The allies they trusted, gone. The people they manipulated, turning away. There's no sympathy, no second chances, just silence. Your silence. The same silence they once thought meant defeat. They try everything. First, denial. This isn't true. This is a setup. Then justification. You don't understand. I had to do it. Then the final pathetic stage, victimhood. I was the real victim all along. But no one's listening anymore. Their empire of deceit is collapsing, brick by crumbling brick. And you stand at the center of it all, untouched, unmoved. They beg, they bargain, they plead for mercy they never showed. But you don't owe them mercy. You don't owe them anything. This isn't about revenge. Revenge is personal. This is justice, cold and absolute. And then comes the moment they truly understand. The moment when, through the panic, through the desperation, They finally look at you and see, not the broken person they left behind, not the victim they once controlled, but something else entirely, something stronger, something untouchable. That's when you lean in, just enough for them to hear, just enough for them to feel the weight of what's coming, and you say it, the words they never expected, the words that twist the knife they once held. You thought the knife was yours. Funny, I've been holding it this whole time. They thought they had the last move. They thought they were the mastermind. But the truth is, they were never the predator. They were prey, pretending to be something bigger, something stronger. And now the mask is gone. The game is over. And you're the storm they never saw coming. There's a moment after betrayal, a moment of silence so thick it feels like the whole world has stopped breathing. Not peace, not relief, just the stillness before the storm. And that's where they make their first mistake. They think the silence means you've lost, that you're broken, licking your wounds in the dark. They don't realize it's the silence of calculation, of restraint, of patience. Because while they celebrate their victory, you're sharpening your knives. Betrayal isn't just a stab in the back, it's a slow poison. It lingers, seeps into your veins, makes you question everything, your choices, your trust, your own judgment. But if you sit with it long enough, if you let it burn through you without letting it destroy you, something happens. You become immune. The poison that was meant to kill you becomes your antidote. You learn, you adapt, and then you strike. They thought they knew you. They thought they could predict your every move. That's how they played the game. After all, manipulation, deceit, control. But here's what they never understood. You don't break the same way twice. The first betrayal might have shattered you, left you gasping in the rubble of your trust. But the second, the third, by then you've rebuilt yourself in ways they never anticipated. You don't react the way they expect. You don't crumble. You don't lash out blindly. You watch. You wait. And in that waiting, in that quiet, they unravel. Because people like them, they don't fear confrontation. They thrive on it. Drama, chaos, tears, that's their fuel. But silence is their kryptonite. They need to be the center of attention, to control the narrative, to dictate the terms of every war. When you refuse to play by their rules, when you don't give them the reaction they're expecting, you force them into unknown territory. And nothing is more terrifying to a manipulator than losing control. You let them sit with their paranoia. You let them wonder why you aren't fighting back. You let the silence stretch so long that it becomes unbearable. Every time they look over their shoulder, they see ghosts of their own making. What if you're planning something? What if you're gathering evidence? What if you know more than they think you do? Their own mind becomes the battlefield, and they lose before the war even begins. And then when the moment is right, you act, not with rage, not with recklessness, but with precision. Maybe it's a single truth revealed in the right place, at the right time. Maybe it's a quiet word in the right ear, a piece of undeniable evidence placed where it will do the most damage. You don't need grand gestures. You don't need to scream. The truth is loud enough. The ones who betray you expect you to break. They expect you to lash out in a way that makes you look like the villain. But the real power is in turning the blade they gave you against them. It's in showing them that while they were playing a game, you were rewriting the rules. They wanted you to beg, to collapse, to disappear. Instead you rise. And in the end that's what haunts them the most. Not the revenge, not the exposure, but the realization that they never had power over you at all. That everything they did, every lie, every betrayal, only served to make you sharper, stronger, untouchable. They wanted to destroy you. Instead they built you into something they can't even face. So to anyone who's ever handed you a knife, thank them. Thank them for showing you exactly who they are. Thank them for teaching you the lessons you never wanted but needed. Then show them how deep the knife can go. They wanted a villain. Give them a legend. Let your silence be the anthem of their regret. And the next time someone asks why you're so quiet, just smile. Tell them you're too busy sharpening knives.